The movie begins showing a boat of Norwegian troops sailing towards the town of Narvik on April 8, 1940. When they reach the port, their captain announces that all leaves for the troops have been cancelled by the higher authority. A corporal by the name of Gunnar Toft approaches the captain and asks to be allowed time off for his son's birthday. Refusing, he says he has to go to the base. However, the major, who was standing close by, gives him permission to take a brief leave of absence and gives him instructions to return by midnight. He thanks the major and walks away. The following instant, he arrives at a hotel where his wife, Ingrid Toft, is a waiter. Mayor Ordfor Theodore, a representative of the Norwegian government, was addressing the delegations from Germany and England at that time. He was asking them to respect the neutrality of Norway in the war. He was saying that we all know the importance of this small town. This town has enough iron ore that all the nations can fulfill their needs. He raises his concerns that several German and English ships have been sunk after leaving the port with iron ore. He warns that this affects all of us. This can lead Norway to stop its mission of mining iron ore in the town. He asks the delegations to speak to their respective governments to make an agreement for the guaranteed safe passage of the iron ore ships. Gunnar calls his wife inside the kitchen and tells her that they are stationed in this town. At the back of the hotel, he meets with his dad and son. He wishes his son a very happy birthday and gives a gift of a locomotive engine to him. At night, they get together for dinner, and his father tells him his views about the ongoing war. He tells him that Norway should not trust Germans. He thanks the English for being there to help the Norwegian army, takes the kid, and leaves. Gunnar witnesses some explosions at the port when he leaves his house to head to the base. He dashes to the port where his army and the Germans were engaged in combat. When he arrives, he questions his friend about his firearm. He claims that was left at the camp. He now grabs his gun and assumes the posture. In the interim, their colonel gives his men orders to retreat and surrenders to the Germans. He responds that he cannot have the entire town blown when the captain reassures him that they are prepared to fight. After that, they started to walk back. In the next scene, Ingrid comes to his hotel in the morning. When she enters from the back door, an English man begs her to let him enter with her. She allows him. Now she sees some German soldiers pulling the guests out of the hotel rooms and sending them down. The German representative Consul Fritz orders his troops to behave respectfully to Lady Ingrid because she is a German translator. He asks her to give him the keys to room number 503. A German soldier points his pistol at Polly, the manager, when she refuses to give it to him. They are there to defend Norway from Britain, even though the consul begs the soldier to stop endangering the populace. He added that they had also received the army of Norway's surrender. When Ingrid notices this, she hands him the keys, as the English delegation members hide in the kitchen. After some time, when she was working in the kitchen along with her friend Georg and members of the English delegation and Consul George, they heard a knock on the kitchen door. 2 German soldiers arrived to conduct a search of the kitchen. Ingrid returns to ask the members to leave the kitchen right away after managing to eject them from there in some way. She responds that she doesn't want to get involved because she has a child living with her when Consul George asks to have them stay at her house. He warns her that they might perish outside if she shuts the doors behind them. She asks her friend to lead them to the hunting cabin perched atop a mountain. After that, she comes home where her father was preparing the luggage to move from the town. When she says that I heard they have surrendered, and he tells her that Gunnar and his company did not surrender. After some time, he boards Ingrid and her son on a train. In the meanwhile, Major dispatches a messenger to arrange a meeting with Gunnar. He asks him where the explosives are hidden beneath the Nordal Bridge when they first meet. To find out the precise location of the dynamite, he gives his father a call. He gives him the address and lets him know that his wife and son will also be arriving at the bridge by train. He becomes concerned, but the major ends the call right away. He gives him the order to bring his team, plant the dynamite, and set it off right away. He asks him if they should let the train pass first, but he reasons with him that they cannot let that train pass. The Germans are here to get the iron ore, so they cannot risk the train having Germans' troops on the train. When they go to the bridge, they see some civilians coming from the tunnel. The major and his company receive them and help them pass the bridge. The next moment, when they plant the explosives under the bridge, German troops find them and start shooting at them. Meanwhile, some Germans also succeed to pass the bridge. Gunnar and his group manage to blow up the bridge somehow. Gunnar becomes a prisoner of war after the Germans capture Ingrid and her son. They take her and her son to see Consul Fritz and their General Dietl at night. He promises to speak with his general to get her husband released. Upon her return home, she receives a call from her friend Jorg, asking her to bring something over to the cabin. When she informs Ingrid that it was from room 503, she allays her worries about her husband. She heads to the cabin the next moment, where she is asked to help Consul George drive the Germans out of the town by working for them for a while. He asks her to know the positions of German artillery. He requests her to find out the German plans to attack the incoming force from their Consul Fritz and how they are going to defend the city. The next morning, she goes to the room of Fritz in the hotel to serve tea and have a look at the maps in the drawers. At the same time, she hears some explosions outside. The English started the attack on the German ships in the harbor. They'd all start running in the streets. At night, Ingrid comes to the hotel again and helps the manager to give medical aid to the German soldiers. She met Consul Fritz there and asked him to talk to his general about her husband. He tells her that it is not the right time to ask this to him and leaves. She tells Polly that she is going to get more blankets for the soldiers and leaves. She goes to Fritz's room and steals the maps which she saw earlier that day. She heads to the cabin and hands Consul George those maps. After saying thank you, he lets her go. German bombers begin attacking the town's buildings as soon as she arrives home. In the explosions, her father also perishes. When she finally locates her son, she is relieved. The action then switches to Gunnar and his pals in the Norwegian highlands. To get to their trenches, they pull the German carts up the hills. The French and Norwegian soldiers soon attacked the trenches. With the assistance of French forces, Gunnar murders his prisoners as well as other German soldiers. His major praises him and tells him that he will see his kid when he goes back to Narvik. Consul Fritz was in Narvik at the time, admonishing Mayor Theodore to let them know where the Englishmen were. Ingrid was serving as their interpreter. When he claimed he didn't know anything, the Germans detained him. Subsequently, Ingrid visits his injured child in the tunnel. She brings him to the hotel in the middle of the fight when his condition worsens. She asks Consul Fritz to assist her and keep her child alive. Refusing, he explains that all the medical professionals are occupied tending to the injured German soldiers. Now she surprises him by saying that if he calls a doctor for her child, she will tell him about the Englishman. When he assures her of the medical treatment, she tells her the location of the Englishman. After capturing them, the German doctor treats his wound and saves him. In the next scene, Corporal Gunnar, his company and major along with the French soldiers were sailing towards Narvik. They saw a rail cannon that was firing at them. The major orders them to take the cannon out from the hill and capture it. They'd all start climbing the hill afterwards. After a fierce fight, they retreat. The major halts them and warns them to kill them if they move back. He encourages them to fight and knock the Germans out of the tunnel. Gunnar informs Hansen, a friend, that he is aware of an alternate route up the hill. Taking them along, he launches a surprise attack on the Germans. After taking out the machine gunners, he heads into the tunnel. There, they are heavily shelled. They eventually succeed in demolishing the cannon after that encounter. They exit the building and let the major know that the cannon has been removed. The major gives them the order to proceed. After taking the hill, they advance to Narvik. Consul Fritz asks Ingrid to accompany her to Berlin. He tells her that she is now alone, even though she declines to leave. He replies that her husband died while on a mission when she questions him about why he said that. She leaves after becoming agitated and anxious. She queries Polly, her manager, about her knowledge of Gunnar's passing. When she realizes that, she is equally shocked and gives her some cash so she can leave the town. She informs Ingrid that because she has been assisting the Germans so much, people are beginning to suspect her. She takes the son and leaves to go home. On the other hand, Gunnar, his company, and French soldiers enter the town victoriously. Everyone was rejoicing at this moment. Gunnar goes to his house, where his wife Ingrid and kid were collecting their luggage to move from there. His wife gets surprised when she sees him alive. He meets them and asks them to come out to enjoy the moment. She said she cannot come out to enjoy it because they think she is a traitor. When he asks her why they say so, she tells him that she gave some information on Englishmen to save his child. He gets angry and says he would not be standing there if it were not for them. She tells him that the English have almost killed his son. Their shelling killed his father. As they were debating these issues, some German aircraft arrived and began bombing them. When Gunnar emerges from his destroyed house to help a wounded man, the film ends. However, he was unable to. He witnesses Ingrid crossing the street to board the boat that will take her out of the town. Gunnar arrives to assist her after someone drops her briefcase. After boarding, they all depart from the town. Thanks for watching.